Well, ladies and gentlemen, actually, I don't really know what to say to you today because, to be honest, I'm actually kind of pissed. I'm really annoyed, like really annoyed. And to be honest, we're just going to talk about it. And, for once, I'm just going to talk to you, from me to you. And we're going to talk about a topic that, to be honest, really matters to all of us. And, before I even do, I want to play a video by Charlie Kirk's wife, which she put online following the death of her husband. Have a watch.
What makes you happy?
Now, the title of the clip is Thank You for Being My Love Story. And it's a rather difficult watch knowing that her husband had just been assassinated. So let's actually go through what happened and some of the news and the comments that were given following this and exactly why it matters and it's so important. The first comment was obviously given by Douglas Murray. He says, the news of the assassination of Charlie Kirk is appalling. He says, I'm thinking of his wife and children. He was a wonderful man and a true ally. So, got to say that actually Douglas Murray captures the point really, really well in his original post. And that is, we can't help but think about the kids. Charlie Kirk had a 1-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter, and he leaves behind a wife. And to be honest, they're very young to lose the father. She's very young to lose her husband. So, yeah, that's really, really sucky. I've got to be honest to say that the next post by Samantha Smith is really what kind of gets me, and that is that they wanted to silence Charlie Kirk. Instead, they created a million Charlie Kirks. And this really is the crux of why I want to talk about this in such a candid way today. Because as people are saying, Charlie was a nice guy. He tried to converse with you. He went on podcasts. You went on his. You won't like who comes after Charlie Kirk. And to be honest, this is actually, again, it's the crux of the issue. Like, people are going to become very, very radicalized. As Aurora says, it should radicalize you. Leftists murdering and celebrating the death of a father and a husband should radicalize you. And this after many extreme leftists went on social media following the death of Charlie Kirk and started to celebrate. It was such a great day because, their nemesis, Charlie Kirk, had been assassinated. Now, you can see even in South Africa, one of the editors of the SABC responded, bad things are happening in the United States. And this is meant to be an allusion to what Donald Trump said. Remember, bad things are happening in South Africa. And I've got to say, it's poor taste. It's bad timing. Though, in one respect, we'll get to this in a minute, SABC were probably the most respectful to what happened with Charlie Kirk. And we will talk about that a little bit later in the video. Now, Naomi says that after careful consideration, I've decided to become more radical because, as I said, this is going to radicalize people. And to be honest, it probably should. And as Dissident Soap says, if you don't think Charlie was a moderate, the guy who comes after him will leave no doubt in your mind. And to that, I'd say, yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. And I've got to be honest that this will radicalize all of us, and it should. As the critical drinker says, whether you agreed with him or not, Charlie is dead purely because some people didn't like what he had to say. Yeah, and as he says, that should outrage every single one of us. I've got to be honest and say, yeah, and it does. It annoys many of us. So let's actually have a look at what happened. Well, Charlie Kirk, age 31, the co-founder of Turning Point USA and a key ally of Donald Trump, was shot dead during a questions and answers at Utah Valley University. Now, a single bullet is believed to have been fired from a rooftop by a person in black clothing, which struck him midsection. The bullet ricocheted and went into his neck. I have seen the videos. To be honest, it's horrendous. Like, it's actually really not a nice watch. The video last night, I followed the entire story, and I've got to say, I did not sleep. Like, it really, really annoyed me. It's not that I was a massive fan of Charlie Kirk. It's not even that I watched that many of his videos. Like, I knew who he was, as most of us do. But it's really what this symbolizes and the way that he was taken out. It's horrendous. Now, there was initial confusion. The FBI's director, Kash Patel, first said a suspect was in custody. Then he clarified that the person was released. Later, a different suspect was confirmed as having been detained. And as of right now, they don't, and that's the time of recording. Just to clarify, they don't actually have anyone in custody for this. Now, how they never found anybody, I'll never know. Apparently, the shooter could be seen on the roof in a prone position, and there was a sniping type shot that occurred from a 200 yards. So it was what many individuals are now describing as, well, somebody who was probably trained. Like, you don't just make that shot from a prone position on a rooftop as just like your weekend hunter. Let's put it like that. Now, Donald Trump was the one who actually broke the death of his news. When we originally heard that Charlie Kirk had been shot, he was taken by a bunch of bystanders into their SUV and rushed to the hospital because there was no medical on site. And many individuals now started to ask questions as to why there was no medical on site. Also, individuals are noticing that Charlie Kirk was wearing body armor. There was news that he was fearing for his life. And so he had actually been shot in the heart, but the bullet had actually ricocheted up and hit him in the leg. Now, Trump posted a somber address from the Oval Office, calling Charlie Kirk a martyr for truth. He blamed the radical left, accusing them of rhetoric that fuels terrorism and political violence. And he ordered flags on government buildings to be lowered to half-mast until Sunday, and declared his administration would pursue those responsible and the organizations funding the political violence. Now, the Utah Governor Spencer Cox labeled it a political assassination, calling for Americans to reflect on the country's direction ahead of its 250th anniversary. Former Congressman Jason, who was present, said that the second question Kirk was answering before he was shot was about transgender shooters and mass shootings. Vice President J.D. Vance posted prayers for him. Joe Biden said there's no place in the country for this kind of violence. It must end now. California Governor Newsom condemned the attack as disgusting, violent, and reprehensible. And to be honest, like all of this, and we're going to talk about all of this because all of this to me just sounds like complete hogwash from the left. And, it's going to radicalize the right globally. This is not an American issue. You may look at me and go, well, why are we talking about it? This is going to radicalize people across the world. And we're going to get to all of this. And it should radicalize people across the world, especially on the right. Now, if you know who Charlie Kirk was, he founded Turning Point USA in 2012 to promote conservative values on campuses, and he built a massive following on Instagram and YouTube championing anti-immigration policies, gun rights, and outspoken Christianity. He played a critical role in boosting Trump support amongst young voters, which aided in Trump's return to office in 2024. So that's basically who he was. So now let's actually start talking about it. Well, the first is, let's actually get the noticeables out the way. J.D. Vance said that Charlie's events were one of the few places with open and honest dialogue between the left and the right. He would answer any question and talk to everyone, and this is very true. If you've ever seen any of his stuff online, you know exactly how he presented these things. Now, you may be looking at it and saying, okay, well, a guy who just debates online on YouTube, why is that important? The guy wasn't just a YouTuber. He built organizations. His political reach was massive. The guy was a movement in itself. He was not just an average YouTuber. He was really influential. And if you actually saw the amount of people that had pitched at Utah to watch him talk, was substantial. And you can see that even in the commentary from 9mm, who says that Charlie had a direct influence on an audience so large that none of us could have dreamed of it. He had the ear of the youth. You killed him. You just turned the whole lot of moderate, conservative, younger men and women into radicals. They loved him and you shot him. Prominent Twitter profile Vivid also quoted Charlie Kirk as saying, if you believe in something, you need to have the courage to fight for those ideas, not run away from them or try and silence them. And to be honest, this is how everybody's feeling. They're all feeling like Charlie Kirk was silenced. And you can see this in the way that everybody is reacting. Matt Welsh said, I'm totally devastated. Charlie was a friend and a very good man. I always worried that it would come to this eventually. I never thought it would be Charlie. He will be dearly missed and I'll be praying for his family. So, a lot of people are feeling it and they can all notice it. But as we said, it was Donald Trump ultimately who actually broke the news. When it was originally shot, a lot of us were praying for Charlie and hoping that he would actually pull through because we knew what his death would mean. For the longest time, there was no news, and I must say that I sat there watching all the live and updates, and it was Donald Trump who ultimately broke the news on Truth Social, and he said, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. And to be honest, again, this is why this is so important. This is not just a normal shooting. It's not something you can just shrug under the carpet. Nigel Farage tweeted that this is a very dark day for American democracy. I am desperately sad for Charlie, his wife, and his children. And in response to that, people started posting tweets or videos of Charlie Kirk with his kids to show exactly what they will be missing. And you can watch one of those right here.
So short and thin, when it is so tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. And when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play.
Nicole Benjamin of the Lotus Eater said, remember that Charlie Kirk's entire career was focused around winning the debate in proper democratic fashion, and they still shot him. Keir Starmer tried to give a quote online. He said, my thoughts this evening are with the loved ones of Charlie Kirk. It's heartbreaking that a young family has been robbed of a father and a husband. To which some individuals swore at Keir and said, if he was British, he would have been locked up. And again, this is part of the issue. Charlie Kirk died for free speech. And let's be honest, the left have been telling us for the longest time that speech is violence. And because of that, any violence, even physical violence, meted out against the individuals is fair game because violence begets violence, they tell us. Ben Shapiro issued a tweet where he said he had known Charlie Kirk since he was 18. Nobody worked harder. And to be honest, this is actually the comments that many individuals make when referencing Charlie. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, said that Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom. A lion-hearted friend of Israel, he fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. He said he spoke to him only 2 weeks ago and invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will now not take place. Brendan Herrera said, we might have just witnessed the most significant assassination in the country since MLK Jr. And to be honest, I think that is entirely true. What this is going to do is huge. We cannot understate this. Blair White said they're on TikTok and Blue Sky celebrating. They're celebrating. She said she can't handle it. And in response to that, Carl Benjamin with the Lotus Eater said, don't look away. Because the left is now showing us exactly who they are. They hate you, they want you dead, and they think it's funny. And it's not funny. What this is going to do is radicalize people in ways that many of them have barely started to understand. You can see this in a Dems post from Connecticut, which said, Charlie Kirk was advocating for gun rights everywhere and got exactly what he deserved. You don't say these kind of things. It's not funny. A wife and child have been left without their husband and they think it's funny. It's not. Patrick Bet David said, I still can't believe, but it's true. Charlie Kirk is dead. I see many divisive messages. I see many ugly messages of people celebrating his death. Even some mainstream media reporting it may have been friendly fire. And this is exactly the problem we saw. We even saw mainstream or legacy media start to report it in a very negative manner. And again, we're going to talk about that in a second. Barack Obama said, we don't yet know what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in a democracy. And here I want to start talking about this issue because it's really important. Does everybody recall when Nancy Pelosi was on TV saying, you've got to be violent with these people. Why aren't we violent? You have to hit a Nazi, you have to hit people, you have to do this, you have to go burn their home down, make it uncomfortable for them. These were Democrats. These were Democrats who had done this for the longest time. They had radicalized their followers. In the last 18 months, there had been 0 attempted murders by people on the right, but many murders by people on the left. The left has become violent. The Democratic Party are the ones advocating for the violence, and yet they want everybody now to go, oh, well, we didn't know that. But they're the one pushing it. And you see this in leftist organizations globally. This is not confined just to the United States. Insert a country, and they all act the same way. And you can see this in Bode Trader Ranger says, the right has slowly started to realize how serious the left is. There's no debating with these people. They simply want you dead. And to a degree, that is true. MSNBC speculated that Charlie Kirk's shooting could have been a supporter shooting their guns off in celebration. I mean, what is wrong with these people? They also said that Charlie Kirk may have deserved it because he said such divisive things. Now, the news out is that the reporter has since been fired, but this is exactly what we expect from legacy media. So coming back to what I said, even News 24's original comment on this was right-wing, hard right-wing, Charlie Kirk has been shot. At least SABC was more diplomatic by saying conservative Charlie Kirk had been shot. Much better than the slur, because that's how the media use it, the slur of the right-wing. This is exactly who the media are, and they don't hide it. Now, in typical fashion, some Muslim extremists went online as well, also celebrating that Charlie Kirk had been killed, because Charlie Kirk was famous for having said that Islam was not compatible with the West. So in typical fashion, they all started celebrating, saying, Inshallah, he's dead, and they were all happy. This is exactly who these people are. The unholy alliance between the left and Islam is going to be the death of the West. These people do not want to negotiate in good faith. They want to kill you. There is some speculation that the individual who may have been responsible for the shooting may have announced it online. And you can see that in the quotes here. It says, Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. Really hope someone evaporates him literally. And then says, let's just say something big will happen. And many individuals have pointed to the FBI asking them to investigate this. But this in itself is part of the problem. You see, the problem is that for the longest time, you could say these outrageous things online and nobody took them serious. Nobody responded to them. We see this even in South Africa. Kill whites, oh, white people, they deserve it, they're horrid, blah, blah, blah. No one takes them to task. We just go, oh, it's another crazy wacko. And this is what it leads to. Now, if you say it on the right and you say something else, well, then you're a homophobe, you're Islamophobic, you're a racist, you're a whatever else. This is going to radicalize the right. The right will no longer put up with this. You can even see this in the response from BBC. BBC had this to say about the shooting.
It is a really shocking moment, and I was thinking, I've never shared a Trump post in my life. I will contemplate sharing this one. But what I will say with a caveat, he wasn't admired and loved by all. So that's an exaggeration, but the truth is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Sorry,
let me
Matthew,
finish.
go ahead.
It doesn't matter.
And you can actually see it. The individual's almost laughing. I would never share Trump's posts, so Charlie must deserve it. You can even hear their colleagues feeling like this is really being said in bad faith. But what you would not notice is that the individual who actually said it, would you know it is not white? And that fundamentally may seem like it's not an important point, but it is. Because when it comes through to any form of violence against any form of white people, the automatic response from many of these individuals is they deserve it. They don't. And you can even see this in the response that was given by one of the Black Lives Matter individuals who basically had responded to the stabbing of the Ukrainian individual in North Carolina, saying that basically black people have the right of violence and that the individual killed was, well, they deserved it because, white people deserve to be killed. This is not how you go about things. People around the world marched for Black Lives Matter. But now they're saying that actually killing any form of white individual is justified. Yes, this isn't normal. This isn't normal, I'm afraid. For as Sean Maguire says, the left has lectured us for the last decade about the dangers of violence from the right. From the assassination attempts of Donald Trump to Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO being murdered, now Charlie Kirk. The danger was actually on the left. And this is exactly how I must say that I'm feeling. In typical fashion, you've got some individuals saying, I'll pray for Charlie Kirk as much as he prayed for Palestinians. And some individuals are not taking this very well. Because in typical fashion, you can't just say, oh, look, something bad happened to X person, it's terrible. They want to do forms of moral equivalency and go, well, it's not as bad as so-and-so. This event needs to be understood in isolation. It is going to have massive ramifications globally as the right becomes more radicalized. The right are starting to understand exactly who the left are and exactly what they mean. And the right will no longer be silent. As Antelope Hill Publishing says, the bullet fired at Charlie may have killed the moderate right. And I must say that that's exactly how I feel. Now, in response to this, one of the Republicans called on Congress to give a moment of silence and a prayer for the death of a husband and a father. And in response to that, the Democrats shouted no. In fact, you can actually watch that right here.
What purpose does the gentlelady from Colorado rise? Let's, wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. We will join prayer right after this, okay?
And I must say, ladies and gentlemen, this highlights exactly what the parties on the left are like. They are horrid. They almost are becoming evil. In their quest to be social justice warriors, they've forgotten their own humanity. And Lauren Fox himself summarizes this very nicely, where he says, "Stop painting violent racist murders as victims. It will end very, very badly. There are monsters of all skin colors. The devil doesn't discriminate." Making excuses for what that monster did is demonic, and I would agree. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you agree? Is this going to change the world? This is a horrific event. It's really not a good day for anyone, and I must say it's really pissed me off. And in my own way, I can say that this will probably also radicalize all the podcasters that I know. Many of us last night were debating on whether or not we could be next. We are also vocal about our position, and we also advocate our positions very clearly to a public. Any one of us could be taken out as well by the radical left, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. In the United Kingdom, the left controls the democratic levers of power, and they choose to silence anyone who goes against their policies or their rhetoric. We see this in numerous countries around the world, and the time for silence is over. Many of us need to start speaking out and can no longer afford to remain silent. At least that's my view. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.